Question now coming from Donna Masucci from the audience. Good to see you.
Thank you. Welcome. I have a question for you. It's a long question, so you can answer it shortly if you want to.
Do I need a pencil or take notes?
Not sure.
Okay. In recent years, several legislative proposals were introduced to expand and improve preschool for kids across the country.
Say that again, expanding.
Preschool.
Preschool.
Okay.
But there's significant price to provide in these programs, which we all know. And as you know, we face debt and budget deficits. There's only so much money to go around. Being president is about making tough choices. So ignoring the specifics of these proposals, can you speak generally on where you think the American money should go? Is it wiser to focus on investing in early childhood education, or should money go to expand post-secondary options such as community colleges?
I think it's a great question the way you formulated it, and I wish there were some people in Washington that would formulate it the same way, because you formulate the question as there are choices, and are you going to be for this or for that? In Washington, you know what? It's never that. It's always just added on, borrow the money from China and spend it on whatever. And there are so many things that tug at the heartstrings that are in all likelihood good. We just add more on. So we borrow $1 million a minute. But the way you formulate the question is the way we should. Every legislator should be saying, and this is what I tell the groups, if you come up to me and you're lobbying for more money for early childhood education, I'll say, fine, tell me where to get it. Because I want to know the same from the advocates as well. So we have doubled the size of our military spending. Military is very important. It has to be done in Washington. We have to have a national defense. But we've doubled it since 2001. We are bigger than the next 14 countries combined. We need to have a debate as a country. How big does the military need to be? What do they need to do? As far as early childhood development, I'm an ophthalmologist, and I was telling some of the folks earlier that there's a condition called amblyopia. And it means that if you don't use your eye as a child, your brain doesn't develop. The vision center doesn't develop. So if I have a child with perfectly normal eyes and I cover and patch one eye and don't let them see out of it for 7 years, I take the patch off, the eye looks perfectly normal and doesn't see. And it isn't correctable. After age 7, I can't go back and fix it. I can't patch the other eye, it doesn't come back. The vision develops and the brain is mutable or changeable up to about age 7. It's not an exact time, but right around there, 6, 7, 8 years old, the brain won't change anymore. So I'm a big believer in early childhood learning and development, languages, you name it. I envy the families that can speak more than one language and teach their kids 2 languages from birth. I'm a big believer that music is helpful as well. My kids all learned guitar, and we did it not because we thought any of them were really going to ever perform or do anything. We thought it would help them with math. And I mean, that may be simplistic, but I think learning and the brain expanding and using more of the brain, particularly in the early years, is really important. How we pay for it, though, is a real question. So what we have to decide is, and this is the thing, and conservatives sometimes get a bad label on this. People say, oh, well, you're conservative, and so you're not for any government. And I say, well, that's not exactly it. I'm for $3 trillion worth of government. I'm for what comes in. So $3 trillion comes in. That's a lot of money. That's what you pay in taxes, $3 trillion. Problem is we spend like 3.8 or 3.9 trillion. So we have to figure out to spend what comes in. If we were spending what comes in, would a part of what I think government should do be part of education? And should education be maybe even at an earlier stage? Yes, absolutely. It's a big role of particularly state and local government. The other thing that I think we have to do, though, is we have to figure out how to have families. I think a lot of times everybody points and says it's the fault of the teachers. But if you look at the gap in poverty between students, it gets better throughout the school year and it gets worse in the summertime. Who's with the kid in the summertime? It's the parents. Often there's only one around. And so if we could figure out how to have more complete families, it would be great. But people, I tell them, don't look at me. I can't make your kids wait to get married. But someone should be saying that. If you want to be poor in our country, have kids before you're married. I'm not making a moral judgment. I'm not saying you're a bad person. I'm just saying when you link to poverty, that's the number one relative risk for poverty is having kids before you're married. And so it's your choice, but we should get the information out there to our kids, everybody's kids, no matter where you are, where you come from. Everybody should be telling their kids that you want to be successful in life, do whatever it takes to wait to have your children till you're married.
All right. Thank you very much for the question.